You're listening to Achtung, Millwall, broadcasting from the beautiful South Bermondsey. Accept no substitute.
Hello dear listeners, welcome to Achtung Millwall. My name is Nick Hart. You're listening to the first show of 2024. Happy New Year to you and your families around the globe. So it has been a happy start to 2024, hasn't it? After that wonderful performance and wonderful win down there at Bristol, Achtung Gate yesterday, a late 90 plus 2 minute score by Sean Hutchinson, taking the 3 points away from the West Country. A really wonderful finish to what I thought was a really strong performance across the game. I was going to be happily settling for a point, dear listeners, and then obviously up comes Sean from that late corner to pop home a loose chance. So yeah, we've got the voicemail show for you, which I'm fully expecting to be loaded with upbeat and positive opinions after yesterday's and indeed recent form. Was it now 5 unbeaten, dear listeners? 5 unbeaten. 3 wins on the spin has taken us up the table, well away from relegation. So I'm expecting some upbeat messages on today's voicemail show. But before we begin all of that, we have our punditgames.co.uk trivia question. Incidentally, I want to say thank you to Jonas at Pundit Games. He's paid over the commission that we get for every sale. Obviously, the number one football trivia board game, and every sale that is made, we get commission and we donate that to the Lions Food Hub. So we've earned 50 quid out of these little trivia questions and the sales that it's generated. I want to say thank you to each and every Millwall fan that's bought Pundit and has nominated us as their, originating out of the advert, so to speak, because that way the Food Hub gets a payout. I'm going to tot up the entirety of the calendar sales and, of course, now the 50 quid from Pundit, so I'll put that on social media in due course. So I just wanted to say a big thank you to Jonas and to everyone at Pundit Games for just for the contact, really, and just for the support that these games can offer to a really worthy cause like the Lions Food Hub. Difficult month ahead. January is always a lull, isn't it, after Christmas, dear listeners? So I'm hoping we'll be in a position to pay over a nice little donation very short, and I will give that a little bit of publicity on the show. But for the moment, just as a taster, it's the kind of questions that you can expect if you do buy a Pundit Games trivia board game, probably for birthdays now, I'd imagine. Christmas not now a year away. But let's try this question. This is an England Premier League from the 1990s question. I've forgotten this player, but I did know the name when I looked at the answer, which I'll disclose to you at the end of today's show. But this is a Norwegian player, widely recognised as one of Oldham's finest players ever. Oldham, of course, once Premier League, now languishing in non-league, National League, I believe. He joined them from Leeds for £500,000. A right back, he managed 10 goals in 185 Premier League games, 5 of which came in his first full season, alongside an impressive 7 assists. So he's in an Oldham side versus Nottingham Forest. This is just an example. 1992 we're talking about. A 5-3 win for Oldham. 1992, what different times. In a defence, or in a side rather, featuring John Hallworth, Neil Poynton, Steve Redmond, Richard Jobson, Paul Bernard, Mike Milligan, Neil Adams, Nick Henry, Graham Sharp up front, Ian Marshall, and Mr. X on the right side of midfield in this 4-4-2 lineup. So a Norwegian, stalwart of the Oldham period in the Premier League, 185 Premier League games, 5 goals. I'll give you the answer to that question. I knew the name when I read it, but I would have struggled with that as a question in a quiz. Anyway, there we are, dear listeners. Now, as we said, happy days at the 10. I'm sure anyone that watched that stream yesterday, I watched it, we're not expecting us to pull off a result there. I think we'd all settled for a point being a pretty good turnout. Just looking at the starting 11 yesterday, it's a fatiguing time of year. This is, a lot of football's been played since that away game at Stoke back on the 23rd of December. Seems a long while ago. But yesterday's starting 11, showing the effects, obviously, of George Saville getting sent off harshly, but that was not overturned by the FA, by the slags at the FA. They've upheld the refereeing straight red card, which I thought was a travesty, against Norwich on Friday night. But anyway, so the starting 11, consequently, Matthias Sarkic in goal. Back line of Murray Wallace, Jake Cooper, Sean Hutchinson and Ryan Leonard. Billy Mitch stepping into George Saville's boots, starting yesterday. Jules Honeyman, Duncan Watmore, Zian Fleming, Brooke Norton Cuffy, and up front, Tom Bradshaw. Now, this was a tightly contested game, dear listeners. Let's not make any bones about it. There was very little injured. One decent save that Sarkic had to make on 15 minutes. And one or two moments where Millwall possibly could have done better pressing forwards. I mean, half chance, Bradshaw couldn't get the ball under control on 22. What was noticeable for me in the first half particularly, but also in the second, some really nice passing movements. I think one of the elements that Joe Edwards is really trying to work on, and it's starting to see it come to fruition now, is the desire to pass the ball forwards at pace. And when it comes off, it really looks good. There's a great run by Duncan Watmore and cross in from Bradshaw towards Honeyman on 33. Some really nice dribbling runs, nice passing moves, without really, in truth, generating much in the way of open chances. But what was really stand out is that moment on 15, a header from close range, was Bristol's only chance. In fact, I'd go further and to say their only real chance that they created across the whole game. So defence is a key element in this thing that we call the Joe Edwards process, dear listeners. And that's a real standout, in my opinion. Just that one chance in the game. There was a sloppy bit of ball control in the second period. Ryan Leonard, strangely, who I thought played really well again. But a ball got away from him and we slightly got out of jail a little bit. The Bristol player that got the chance was reduced by solid defending, as we've said already, to trying to feign a dive for a penalty, which he didn't get. So, yeah, overall, not much in the way of chances. A penalty shout on 69. Jake Cooper, I thought, got hooked from behind. Not given. And the comms team, which was Carl, and I think the chap's name was Dan Walker yesterday, didn't really make much of it. I thought it looked a good penalty shout, but nobody else has picked up on it, so maybe it's just me, dear listeners. And then there was a lack of power header from Nisbet on 75. But overall, going into added time, I don't know about you, dear listener, I thought this is a pretty good, hard working point. Not a great game, not a example of the beautiful ticky-tack and all that kind of thing, but to get into added time, still in the game, and then lo and behold, 92 we get a corner. And in the kerfuffle and in the melee, the ball falls to Sean Hutchins, who lashed it home from close range. I let out, but I will confess that I frightened our cats, dear listeners, with my bellow, because having kind of mentally settled for the point, thinking what a good result that point was on the road after a pretty good Christmas overall, to then nick the 3 points in such late circumstances, it generated a bit of a bellow out of the heart lungs, and it frightened the cats. They both ran around the back of the settee. Little bit of a kerfuffle at the end. Ryan Leonard drawing frustration from one of the Bristol forwards, almost got pushed over the advertising board. It was quite dangerous, really, but there was a kerfuffle after that. But that was a sign of their frustration. So overall, a fantastic 1-0 win for Lions. Hard work prevailed, and a fantastic finish by Sean Hutchinson from that late corner. So there we are. Now, I took the chance yesterday, straight after the game, which is always what I call the death strip. But we do it for you, dear listeners. I took the chance to speak to Graham Payne, and this is our review in the immediate, within 20 minutes of the close of play yesterday. So let's have a listen now to the conversation I had with Graham Payne.
Achtung, Millwall.
Next up on the show, dear listeners, in happy circumstances. Normally he's a harbinger of defeat, but today we speak in the aftermath of a fantastic win down there at Achtung Gate. It's Graham Payne. Welcome to the show, Graham.
Cheers, Nick. Nice to be on. Happy New Year to you and all the listeners.
Yeah, indeed. And it is a happy start to the year, mate, isn't it? I thought that was a terrific performance. Obviously capped off with that late goal by Sean Hutchinson. But what a defensive performance masterclass today, Graham. The form turnaround is dramatic in the last few games. It's quite something. I'm trying to put it all together in my head, but I mean, it's a wonderful showing down there at Bristol today, mate.
Yeah, it was. I mean, the change since the Stoke game. I mean, I watched the Stoke game. I'm sure you did, and it was demoralising. I thought, where are we going? But since then, and particularly the last two games, Norwich and today, you can see, things are starting to change. The passing was much better today than it's been for a long while, and Hutchinson coming
Yeah.
back. I'm going to say it now. I'll say it early. He was without the goal. He was man of the match for me. He was just superb.
Well, funnily enough, I mean, going into the 90-minute mark, I was just thinking, well, who are we going to pick as man of the match? He was first on my list, Graham. I mean, you can probably go for the whole team in truth. The conditions and, this is a decent side. These are 8th placed, playoff contenders. So coming into the game, they were 36 points and 29 at the start of the game. So, they were a decent outfit, and we really nullified them. I think that's what's really struck me these past, QPR, and then obviously the Norwich game, and now Bristol. The way we've actually nullified opponents, because there were barely any chances from them. There was a save in the first half. Sarkic took a close range header, which was actually a good save. Apart from that, I've got nothing really on my list of. There was an error in the second half, a sloppy ball by Leonard, give them a chance to get in there, but they didn't create anything, Graham. That's pretty good defending, mate.
It's like Edwards has sat down and decided, well, I can't. Obviously, he came with all this free-flowing fast football. He's realised that he's got to sort the defence out first, now the defending as a team, not just a back 4 or 5, call it what you like. The whole team is defending. And Marku was coming back at the end, winning tackles. It's great to see. It really is.
I mean, Marku. Whether you call him a flair player, I probably would. He's a dangerous player. But you're right. Late in the game, he's come on as a sub. He hasn't started today when he might have thought, he'd done enough to deserve a start. But that tracking back late in the second half was uplifting. The emphasis on defending has been a really interesting turn of events, because we are passing the ball quite nicely. I mean, you can say we didn't create much today. I think probably the late finish was about the only real chance that I can remember. There's a couple of moments where we had half chances, perhaps, but the choice to defend so well and with such. Gary Rowett must be drooling over the defensive work he's seeing now, because that's what that was his reputation. Not Joe Edwards has come in as the Man City Barcelona crossover, isn't he? But first things first, as he said in interviews.
What's amazing to me, and all, I mean, I'll hold my hands up. I'm sure you have. Loads of people have said this back four was done. It was finished. There was players on their last legs.
Yeah.
Last two games.
The
last two games, Murray Wallace has been outstanding. Hutch, as I said, Cooper he always looks better when Hutchinson's alongside him. I don't know why, but he does. And Leonard, I mean, he's just, you could say it now, barring injury, he's going to be player of the year, because he's been that good all season, hasn't he, Leonard? I mean, he's just, no one seems to get past him on that right-hand side at all.
What I really like as well, I mean, there were moments in the first half of the season prior to this sudden change in fortunes, past 4 games. But I just find myself questioning the commitment of one or two of these players. They didn't look. They fancied the battle, Graham. Well, that's been put to rights, because that was a battle down there at Achtung Gate today. Tough conditions. Anyone didn't see the game today. It was pouring with rain. It's cold, and it's New Year's Day. It's a long way to go. Well done to the 600 plus that went down there, by the way, away fans. But that was, you needed to bring your A game there to stand your ground. It was never going to be a pretty match, and it wasn't. But these players that you're right. You hit the nail on the head there, Graham. I was starting to think, well, we'll unload them in January, but I can't say that with such conviction now. And Honeyman, Mitchell in midfield. I mean, Mitchell obviously come in for Sav.
Yeah, he did a fine job. But the question, I'm sure it's been asked before. Why has Honeyman never played in the centre of midfield since he's been at the club, apart from this last 3-4 games? Why was he never picked in that position? It's just crazy. because he's a totally different player in that position. Yeah,
He looks effective.
he
He's
does.
he's he's in your face. He battles and he winds up the opposition. I mean, all through the game, he's in someone's ear hole. He's in the referee's ear. He's in the face of somebody in a red shirt. It's what we've been missing at Mill for a long time now. Maybe the permission to go and be yourself a little bit, because I think that what I'm picking up in these past three games, and it's the beginnings of a run of form now. But we look so comfortable in this with this approach and being allowed to be yourself, but within a framework where we did pass the ball well. I mean, we often take the piss a little bit about teams that just want to ticky tack, and there's a certain humorous quality, but we actually made some really nice passing moves today. Didn't produce the end moment, but these are players I didn't think had it in them. Yeah, and that we look really, really strong on the ball today.
I love my hands up, Nick. I was totally the same. Yeah, I said I love my hands up. I didn't think them, especially the players at the back, had it in them to play the passing, as well as they are. So credit to Joe Edwards. He's taken ridiculous stick, which was beyond a joke. When we was going through a dodgy spell, is he up to it and all that? But he's proven to me, he's got them passing the ball. Something Rowett could never do. Well, probably Rowett didn't want him to do it, if I'm honest. But yeah, credit to Joe Edwards.
Well, I don't think he wanted them to do it. I think, when Edwards arrived, he came with this reputation as a great coach. That's been his like on his CV almost. He coaches players and improves them. And I must admit, it was initially quite hard to see what he's going to be able to do with us. We're short of buying in or bringing in talent from outside. I still think we probably do need some more quality. I mean, you can never have enough good players coming inwards. So it's going to be an interesting month ahead with the transfer window now open. But I think I'm starting to see how he can take what's the right word? Not ordinary players, but journeyman players perhaps, and find something in them that takes them a little bit of a level up. I mean, I don't know if I'm overplaying it there, Graham, but today's performance was not pretty, but it was a really, really strong showing by a Millwall side that was going away to a difficult place, to borrow the cliche. It's never easy going to Bristol, is it?
No, and I would have said to you, if that game had finished 0-0, I would have said the difference between the 0-0 at Stoke and the 0-0 today at Bristol was miles apart. How they've changed since
Absolutely.
then. I mean, obviously, I think the QPR result gave them some confidence, and it was obviously built on that. And Friday night was just superb. And to go there today and get another win, it's just fabulous. You couldn't have asked for no more, really. 9 points.
Absolutely. And we all left the den Friday, and I was waxing lyrical about the old Millwall spirit, a bit of a recovery of who we are and what we are, and the way we played that game, and we've all left raving that. Well, today, for an away performance, a Millwall away performance today, that's the same thing. I mean, it's okay. It was more drama and the white heat of the den on Friday night, but to go to a place like Bristol on New Year's Day in the pissing rain and find enough to grind out what was looking like a 0-0 draw up until that 90 plus 2 minutes corner, and then a great finish from a little bit of a melee as it was kicking around in the scuffle. That's a Millwall performance of old as well, because that took spying there, Graham. You need a bit of arsehole to go and do that, and that's what we showed.
Yeah, that's brilliant. You couldn't, for me as a Millwall, you couldn't ask for no more. The whole team, 1 to 11, again put in a great shift, and then the icing on the cake, if you like, is to get the winner in an added on time. You can't. It's great, absolutely.
To get a winner in not 2 minutes of 5 initially, it turned into about 7 minutes with the little bit of a kerfuffle at the end. But even drawing them into that, I mean, that's frustration, isn't it? I mean, that's what we saw on Friday night. That one slightly rebounded back with Saville getting sent off, but for Leonard to draw one of their more talented players in the push, get involved in the pushing and shoving match. Well, that's meat and drink to us. That's what we want to see. So, I thought it was a fantastic picture. I'm a bit stuck for words afterwards because it was everything I would have hoped it to have been today. Capped off by the cherry on the cake with that goal late. I mean, Hutchinson scored the goal, and you've mentioned Ryan. Now, can you pick a man of the match? I'm struggling to pick one because it's
I'd
easy to
said
say the
at
team,
starting
but I
it.
think it was a team performance.
It was a team performance. We have to go for one. I've got to go for Hutch. I think his defending throughout the game was so spot on. He didn't give the centre forward any time. He was on to
Yeah.
him, and he went in, some great tackles and all. So yeah, again, you can't say anyone didn't put a shift in. But if I had to go for one, I'd go for Hutch.
Well, he looked so rusty when he came back from injury, and like a few, I mean, Sarkic is improving. We've mentioned Hutchinson, mentioned Leonard. I thought Sarkic did well because that's difficult for a goalkeeper. It's the ball's greasy. You got to make decisions. I mean, he made one. All goalkeepers seem to have a slight touch of the eccentric about him. He went running out at one point where I thought he was going to give away the ball with an open goal, but apart from that, he looked pretty solid. But all goalkeepers do that. That seems to be part of the goalkeeping, the makeup, the DNA almost. But I think he's really come on well as well. The whole defence is looking so solid now.
Yeah.
What we are, 32 points now, Graham, with 15th on the table. That's just eight points. 8 points off the playoffs.
I had a friend of mine on the phone straight after the game. We're only 8 points off the playoffs. The life of a Millwall.
It's the talk of the internet, listeners. It's the talk. We've gone from being sinking into League One and probably like finishing up like Reading, going nowhere, and now we're talking about the playoffs for the man in the high castle on the Premier League. But that is the life of the Millwall fan, isn't it? It's just really nice to see a run of form and to see such performances which have restored my faith in being a Millwall fan, to be honest. And it sounds a bit dramatic, but you just seen a Millwall team again. It's been so long that we've looked so wishy-washy, Graham. So wonderful to have that back.
Definitely, mate. I mean, as you said, Friday night, I was trying to think a game, where the crowd got so involved like that. It was brilliant. It was like, you walked out of there. Yeah,
long while.
You felt 10 feet tall because it was so, great.
Yeah.
And then to follow it up today is just brilliant.
Yeah, no, I mean, I would have, going into the extra time, the added time, as I should call it, I thought, 0-0 was pretty good performance, actually, going to a place like that on a day like today. And then to nick it as we did was wonderful. So, a whole team performance, really. We've picked out men of the match there in Ryan Leonard and Hutchinson and one or two others, but we go through the whole side, really. So fantastic day. On to the FA Cup. I'm going to guess, Graham, the percentage choice is to field some of the players that the reserve team players and the lesser lights. Give them first choices a bit of a week off. Would you agree?
Well, straight away, one player I'll definitely rest next week is Ryan Leonard. Have a week off, mate.
Oh yeah, he can have a full night off.
Get him back for a Middlesbrough game. But it'd be nice to see SA get a run out, proper game. Is it Malaki, the left back? I'll give him a run out.
He was on the bench, Adam Malaki.
Give him a run out, because.
So it's going to be an interesting choice. I mean, the league form is prime, our prime target this season. So an FA Cup run has to be secondary. Is Saville's suspension, does that cover the FA Cup or is it just
apparently?
League
games, the second game will be the cup game, which is good as well. Yeah.
Oh well, that's good. Well, that's one reduction at least. And then I think the week after the cup game is next Saturday, 12:30 kickoff versus Leicester, and then of course it's Middlesbrough at home, which will be a difficult game the week after that. So the season has ignited suddenly, Graham.
It's come from nowhere. I didn't see this happening at all. I held my hands up. I thought it was going to be a long, drawn out battle. As we were getting closer to QPR, I think, but I think that win on Boxing Day just changed the whole thing. And since then, it's really, as you say, the season's just turned right round. Nowhere did I see that coming. No way.
No, I mean, I think probably I was sitting there watching this afternoon on the stream, and it maybe because you're biased as a Millwall fan, it's obviously a grinding game, but I'm actually enjoying watching this. We're defending really, really well. Bristol had not even a sniff of a chance, apart from one error in the second half where Leonard, I think, made a poor pass and let them in for a moment. But to see a home side nullified to that level means, it's just wonderful. This is what we want to see, especially when you're going away. So fantastic stuff. I thought we actually should have had a penalty. The commentary, Carl, and I think his name was Dan
Geordie,
today.
wasn't he? Yeah.
Kind of, kind of dismissed the moment. I thought Cooper got his ankle clipped. I thought it was a good penalty shout, but obviously we didn't get anything. That was about 70 minutes or so. But the replay, I think, showed him getting his ankle clipped. I think we should have had a penalty there, but
we never get penalties.
like I always say, I'm an impartial voice,
Yeah.
Graham. I'm an impartial voice, mate.
But I mean,
Speak
I think
barely.
you mentioned it, but I think Sarkic only had to make one save in the whole game, and that was from the header. And he pushed that away well. But other than that...
Yeah, and he made a good save there.
And apart from that, I can't remember him having to make a save in the whole game, really.
No, he didn't. I've got nothing in my my note here at all. So it was just that one moment where they had a header on goal. And it was a decent header, and there was a decent save by Sarkic. Actually, he got down well for that. Otherwise, he looked pretty commanding and solid. So this is wonderful stuff. On to the FA Cup next week. Life of a Millwall fan, Graham. This is bipolar. 1 minute in the depths of despair. Now we're talking about
we're in League One.
Which hotel? We're in the Green Man at Wembley.
It is. So bipolar is just a perfect way to sum up Millwall, isn't it? As supporters, So
Middlesbrough's next, in league-wise. We're going to dismiss the FA Cup. I think there's a bit of frivolity. So we've got Middlesbrough at home on the 13th, then QPR away,
let's come round,
which will be another big game.
Return game with QPRs.
Yeah. That's at the 20th of Jan, and then 27th is Millwall v Preston at home. So a good month ahead of us. Let's hope we can maintain that push. Graham, it's really nice to talk to you in the aftermath of a good win, rather than a miserable loss.
Brilliant.
Got to get you on more often, mate. Maybe we'll win a few now. Big thank you, Graham Payne. Thanks for joining us,
Nick.
mate. Appreciate it.
Mate.
Achtung, Millwall.
Joe, the perfect start to 2024?
Yeah, perfect start to a new year. Obviously something for us to build on, but more the perfect end to what was a real challenging block for everyone. The way that game fell on the 23rd, 4 games in 10 days is a test. And I have to give massive credit to the character of our players, because 4 games in 10 days is always going to be a test, but we were going into it off the back of a difficult run, knowing we weren't playing great, results hadn't been great. So the way we've turned it around, the way they've stepped up and faced what's been a real challenge, and more importantly, some of the football we've started to play, really pleased.
That was, of course, Joe Edwards, gaffer, speaking to Mill Television straight after the game. What a turnaround in Joe's fortunes has been. I mean, I don't think any of us were alone, listeners, in starting to question whether this was actually a good decision. Football is renowned for not giving managers any time. I'm speaking to you on the same day that Wayne Rooney has been sacked by Birmingham City. Leave aside the merits of Wayne Rooney as a person or as a manager to one side, but to be given, I think it was 13 games, is no time at all. But that's the nature of the beast. Thankfully, I think we're in good hands. We are in good hands, of course, with the Berylson family, and I think that as John Berylson showed loyalty to managers, I think that's nice to see so far from James Berylson as well, because many voices out there were calling for Joe to be quietly dispensed with as too inexperienced. But I think we are now starting to see what we hoped we would see all along. And it's also interesting, I think I've got to say, and I've touched on it with speaking to Graham there, I dare say one or two of the voicemails that we're going to go on to very shortly will also pick up on this. The way that Joe Edwards has arrived with maybe one preconception as to how he wanted us to play, put it into a nutshell, the kind of Manchester City ticky-tack type of football, but has very, very swiftly adapted his personal footballing principles to the reality of Championship football with a squad that can improve, but I'm not going to be able to make that leap into that style of football. So the emphasis on defence has been really pleasing. I mean, 3 wins on the spin now, 5 unbeaten, tells its own story. I actually enjoyed watching yesterday. I was reading during the game some comments online about what an awful game it was. I actually thought it was a pretty good watch if you're a Millwall fan. Maybe if you have a twisted mentality like me, but watching good solid defending where a decent side are reduced effectively to next to no threat at all is if you're any kind of football fan, I think there's got to be a pleasure in that. So well done to Joe Edwards. I've also lifted the Millwall TV interview with goal scorer Sean Hutchinson. Have a quick listen to Sean Hutchinson speaking after the game as well, whilst we're on the subject.
Hutchie, a fantastic way to start 2024.
Yeah, doesn't get much better than a knee slide at the away end in the 90th minute away from home. So yeah, thought the boys played really well. The gaffer mentioned it in there about people who are probably going to look at the result and be like, did Millwall just nick a win at the end then? I don't think we did. I thought there was large part of the game where we played really well. Second half especially, we were pushing them, we were looking like we were going to score. So a solid away performance, and it ends a block of 4 games of a draw and 3 wins, which is really positive, and hopefully a little turn from the results lately.
Bit of Geordie on Geordie action there for a Millwall channel. That's quite an unusual sound, isn't it? Well done to Dan Walker yesterday, by the way, stepping in for Max, who was unavailable. I thought he did really well. Can't be easy to do in-game comment and to be coherent, but I thought he did very well. And good interview afterwards there with Sean Hutchinson, scorer of a fantastically taken goal, incidentally. Really, really nicely finished. And it's so great to see the Sean Hutchinson of old back in the mix. So, well done all round, and man of the match. I think that's common consensus. Any road. Let's have a listen to always one of my favourite contributors, Jim Hackett. Let's have a listen to Jim.
Good morning, Nick. Jim Hackett here after yesterday's fantastic win against Bristol City. I think anybody that watched this yesterday could see it was a game we didn't deserve to lose, and definitely second half performance saw us get our just desserts, I think. Yeah, very happy with 3 points. The Christmas period has been fantastic for us, and I think it's given us a different style of playing that we didn't know was there. And all credit I've got to give to Joe Edwards for moving George Honeyman into the centre of the park. So I think that's the catalyst for it all. If you go back a long way, then you'll remember when Terry Urlock got put into the middle of the park for us, and we all know what happened after that. So for Honeyman to be put in there, I think his impact on the team has been dramatic, and suddenly gives us a look that is full of energy, and I think the rest of the team pick up on that. The back four, I thought were fantastic. I think when you look across it now with Leonard, Hutchinson, Cooper, Murray, there's a real steel experience there that has seen a lot in football, has done a lot in football, and now bringing that to the fore. And I think because they're being asked to play football, which is something probably most of them never done before, it's actually giving them the licence to use the ball well. I thought Hutchinson yesterday was fantastic on the ball, off the ball, and all round just leadership. So let's hope he can continue that and stay fit for as long as possible. The fact that we're getting Leonard for game after game after game is a real lift, I think, for everybody. So yeah, very happy with the back four. Sarkic suddenly looks like a goalkeeper. He looks a lot more loose, not as wooden. Maybe there's less stress in there. So for that sort of back five, I think we're very happy at the moment. The midfield, Billy came in there, and I think him and again Honeyman doing all that work allowed Billy the ability to look to pass it a little bit more. He might not be expansive and flash as a player, but he does work his tribe off, and he did try and put 1 or 2 forward passes in yesterday that could only be good for his development. As for the rest of the team, I think they're just playing with that little bit of freedom. I think that's that edge at the back that actually means that they've got the experience, means that the other players, the wide players, can get the ball forward and try things that possibly in the past we haven't done so well. And then for the other part of our game, the bit that was missing early season and probably since before the Blackburn game last season, the bit that we've missed for a while is that little bit of luck. And the teams that nicked us at the end, up until the last few games, suddenly we got a just result for us where Hutchinson put the ball away, and we're all very happy. So overall, the game yesterday, I think we never looked like losing, but at the same time, we did carry a threat in the second half, and it's fantastic the fact that we got the goal and got the win. So, yep, very happy with that. My biggest sort of concern at the moment now is the game on Saturday. I know it's the FA Cup, and I know people are going to say that it doesn't matter, but things have a habit of unravelling very quickly. I think we saw it at the beginning of the season when we won at Middlesbrough, and then for the next game in the cup game against Reading, Rowett put out a team that seemed to carry no threat at all, and everything went tits up from that point, and we ran downhill very fast. I'd hate the fact that we had a good run leads to Edwards putting out a weakened team because it's the FA Cup, because it's Leicester, because I think now we've got a bit of momentum. He should do his best, even if they go out there, play well, do their best, and lose to Leicester in the Cup. It really doesn't matter to me, but I would hate him to change the team so much that they then got to try and get it back for the next game against Middlesbrough. I want the positive feeling to stay with the team and with the squad. So if it was me, I would put our best team out there and give that a go. And you know what? If we get past Leicester, having played well, fantastic. If we don't and we still play well, that's as good. So hopefully Joe Edwards isn't going to use the cup as an excuse to give players some match time, because I don't think he needs to do that with the size of the squad we've got. And I think the other side of the conversation now is, who's he going to bring in? Is he going to bring anybody in? I don't think the squad's big enough to survive the whole season without too many changes. We're playing better than we've played all season, probably better than we played for the last 2 seasons at the moment. But he's got to get some players in, because these players won't be able to keep going and keep going and keep going. There's going to be suspensions, there's going to be injuries. So this is where the telling point was always going to come. Who can he get in during January? Okay, Nick, hopefully it's not too long. Happy New Year, everybody, and come on, you Lions.
Big thank you, Jim. Always interesting listening to Jim. Made me think. My instinct regarding the FA Cup, you just listened to it with the conversation with Graham yesterday, was to rest, our first choice 11 pretty much as far as you can do. I think there are rules on how many rests you can give, but the point that Jim makes about momentum is an interesting one. I don't envy Joe Edwards the choice there, because I can see both arguments there. You're right, I guess, Jim, in that with building some ahead of steam now, and to get past Leicester and be in the cup is probably a valuable thing. Whether we can seriously mount a challenge for playoff football, I don't think it's beyond us, because we're showing and have shown in recent games. We've beaten Norwich City at home, and then we've gone to Bristol. And we can't expect to, for a run of form like that to continue ad infinitum, but you can at least fall back on the fact that you've gone up against decent sides that will expect to be contenders. There's no reason why we can't build a challenge. The choice as to whether to rest or to build momentum, as Jim's just said, yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it? That's where Joe Edwards earns his call. Make you right about Honeyman as well. I think his move to the centre has been, really, really impactful. I also think Billy Mitch you've mentioned as well, but I think the other element that's come into our game, Jim, is the injection of a note of steel. I mean, it's wonderful to see, and we were missing this. I think maybe Rowett instructed his players to draw as few yellow cards and reds certainly as possible. I don't get the thinking there, but it took away that certain Millwall steel that we all crave at the Den, and that's come back in the last few games, and it's been really, really refreshing to see it back again. And I think luck and steel, as I've written on my note here, possibly one links into the other. I don't know. So anyway, huge thank you to Jim Hackett there, dear listeners. Let's go now to Simon Fay, Mr. Hedgepig. Let's have a listen to Simon.
Hi Nick, Simon Fay here. I'm just calling in after today's Bristol City game. Thoughts on today's game? Classic away performance. Sit tight for 90 minutes, solid, don't give away nothing. and then Sean Hutchinson turns into prime Ronaldo and sticks the ball in the back of the net. All I can say is we trust in the process, and it seems to be working. Honeyman in the central midfield is working wonders. Not so sure about Billy Mitchell today, but maybe that's because he hasn't played a while. Needs to stop all those sideways. Needs to stop all those no-look passes that are going nowhere. It's against better teams. We'll get into trouble. We'll get into trouble with those. Bradshaw, immense. Just ran his absolute socks off today. I don't think you can call anyone out for man of the match. Just give it to the entire team. 4 clean sheets, 10 points over Christmas, 10 points clear of the bottom 3. Well, 11 with the goal difference. Time to rest weary legs for the debacle that's going to be the FA Cup tie on Saturday. If this is any chance to play the kids and give the guys a rest, it's this weekend. Anyway, we keep going, onwards and upwards. Come on, you Lions.
Simon, I love that Sky Sports News alert that came in halfway through that message. I'm going to pretend you've done that on purpose and you've got it as a kind of a sound effect on your phone, and that you added it in for dramatic effect after describing Sean Hutchinson as prime Ronaldo. That's what I'm going to pretend. I want to believe that, and that's what I'm going to go with. So big thank you, Simon, for that voice note. Incidentally, dear listeners, if you want to join the circle, the happy circle of Achtung Millwall listener stroke contributors, and send me a post-match, or any match really, any comment you like by voicemail, you can do it one or two ways. You can go on Twitter, X as it's now known, and send me a direct message, which is always open, not for personal problems or I don't know, like these girls are 300 metres away. Don't send me all that stuff. I'm too old for all that. But on the direct messages, you can send a voice note. It gives about 2 minutes 20 in any one message. So if you want to send 4 minutes 41, go for it. You know, happy to listen. Or if you've got privy to my mobile number, you can WhatsApp me. I'm happy whichever way people want to contact me. I just really enjoy receiving these messages. So big thank you there to Simon for that. But if you want to join in, get in touch. Hit me up, I think the kids say in the social media world. Let's have a listen now to Bill Slack. Let's see if Bill is in reflective mode after his recent calls for Joe Edwards' head.
Hello Nick, Bill Slack. I've just had a voicemail from Joe Edwards. He said, how'd you like them apples, you miserable bastard? He said, keep your opinions to yourself because you clearly know absolutely nothing about football. And I've got to say, on the showing of the last 3 games, he's absolutely right. If I'd have been on the Millwall board after the Stoke game, I would have sacked him, or I would have voted to sack him. And looking back now, you look at the 3 games and the 3 wins. I mean, today we were fantastic. You can see it. You can see the players are looking for an option to pass now and to keep the ball, and there's more options. There's more players in space than there ever was under Rowett. The game on Boxing Day was fantastic. That run from Brooke Norton-Cuffy is one of the best things I've ever seen at the Den. As he set off, I said to me, Dad, well, he ain't going to make that, is he? And there he was. So I've got to stop being such a negative Nelly, and or maybe not be so forthright in my opinions. But honestly, that goal going in today, I mean, it's what dreams are made of. And again, you know, the 600 odd Millwall supporters that went up there, horrible weather, miles away, no money after Christmas. But that's why you travel. That's why you blindly travel, because shit like that happens on occasion, and you get to celebrate with the players in a way that you're just not going to if you watch it indoors. And I'm so pleased that every single one of them was rewarded. They would have come out absolutely buzzing. And I have to hold my hand up on the last 3 performances and say, well, I never saw it coming. I didn't after that Stoke performance, I didn't see where another goal was going to come from. And actually, not only are we winning games, but you can see what he's trying to do. I do think that Honeyman in the middle has made all the difference. Just that Millwall thing and all, it is a bit of grief and a bit of aggro. We went through a stage there where, nobody was getting involved, nobody was backing up their teammates, and you see it all the time now. That little fucker Honeyman loves a row. The thing with Ashley Barnes on Boxing Day is showing a team spirit, and maybe the penny's dropping. And 3 wins on the spin, 3 clean sheets, absolutely incredible. Shoved my words right back down the back of my throat, and fair play to all of them. I couldn't be happier. Thanks, mate. I'll speak to you soon.
Well done, Bill. Well done, mate. I won't disagree with what you were saying. I mean, it was very hard pre-Christmas. And we've all said the same things. We're all struggling to see how Joe Edwards is going to produce a silk purse from what many of us, myself included, were calling a pig's ear. And gradually over Christmas, things are starting to click. I think the QPR game was obviously a hard grind of a watch, and we edged it over a very poor side. And I walked away from that game thinking, yeah, that's great to get a win, because it gave us a cushion from the relegation spots. But it was going to be still, for me, a relegation battling season, hopefully with enough points between us and the bottom 3 to make it a disappointing lower league finish. Friday night against Norwich, that was a turning point moment for me, because that was a brutal Millwall home performance. You've touched rightly, Bill, on Honeyman and the note of the nasty, horrible bastard style that is brought in. I think that's under instruction from Joe Edwards. I think he knows what the crowd want. When it all kicked off on Friday night, I think I said in my live comment thing that I do, this is what the crowd wants. And, it's a catchphrase, but it's also true. That is what the crowd wanted. They were into it. You've got Panto villain, what's his face? Young Ashley out of Coronation Street. Suddenly he's a Panto villain, and you can call him all the names under the sun. You can release all the pent-up energy that you've had to listen to at work or home or whatever. You are released, freed from pressure, like the song, the club song. I do follow the club scene, listeners. So yeah, it's that note of steel. We've touched on it already. So also I want to say, I think you've made the point there, Bill, about the style of play that Joe Edwards is trying to build. And I didn't see, like you, I won't hide, I didn't see how we could get players that I thought of as probably mundane League One level players to pass and move at pace, because that's what was evident on Friday night particularly. But also yesterday, we didn't carve out any open chances from open play yesterday, but we made some really nice moves. There was a hint of something, and we've got youngsters coming in now, likes of Imarku. Let's hope we see SA. Let's hope he's not on the move, because I think this style of passing, pacey movement is exactly what's going to enliven us. And you're right, it's fair play to the 619 that went down to Bristol yesterday. So well done, fair play, Bill Slack. Big thank you to Bill. Keep them coming, mate. We want to hear your forthright opinion. That's what Going to Millwall's all about, forthright opinion. Going to run 2 together now. It's going to be Chicago Joe from the Speakeasy out there in Michigan, and then going to listen to Bobby, cheeky chappy Bobby. Let's have a listen to Bobby and Joe.
Sean Hutchinson, Sean Hutchinson, Sean Hutchinson, Sean Hutchinson, Sean Hutchinson. Thank you to our captain, my captain, the greatest captain, Joe from Chicago. It's 2024, and Sean Hutchinson is still the best part of this Millwall back line. Love this team. Love this club. What a game from Sarkic. Brooke Norton Coffee. What a win. What a start to the new year. I hate Bristol City, and I love this result. Come on, you Lions. Happy New Year. Hope everyone's well.
Good evening, Nick Hart. Bobby T here, Mr. Cheeky. Well,
Happy New Year to all the Millwall Lions. And let me just say, I'm beating them 5. 3 games, 3 wins. 3 and 3. It's the Joey Edwards effect. Right, didn't go today. Happy New Year to all the Millwall fellow people who went up there today. Great turnout, apparently. It wasn't there, working. But it's called Smash and Grab. Smash and Grab. It got ugly towards the end, what I heard. Now, Amaka not starting. You know, Watmore started. But anyway, back to my comment about Amaka. Yeah, I love him. He's just in his confidence. I give him all the time in the world. He's going to be a great future prospect for the Millwall Lions. But he didn't start today. And the smash and grab, Hutchinson, we all know, Captain Fantastic. We all said a couple of months ago he was slow, too slow, too old. But he turned on a sixpence in the area, smashed it home. Kevin Nisbet, take a look at the old Hutch. Great finish, smash and grab, 1-0. What a way to start the new year. I'm happy. I'm a happy Lion. We're not safe just yet, but happy Joey Edwards is starting to turn now, and we're playing and we're grinding out results. Team hate playing us. Take care from Bobby T. See you Middlesbrough at home. Bye for now.
Safe, Bobby. I'm looking upwards, mate. I'm looking at the top 6, mate. That's where I'm looking. Yeah, good stuff. Big thank you, Mr. Cheeky Bobby. Smash and grabs would be a good way to put it, mate. Actually, it was a very solid defensive performance, and then, you know, sometimes you get these breaks late. Sometimes you don't, but we did yesterday, and a beautiful finish, as you say, from Captain Fantastic Shawnee Hutch. Joe, I think you've had a few drinks, mate. Have you had a screwdriver in your speakeasy doing that musical? You'll be on stage of Chicago soon. Carry on singing like that. Big thank you both Joe and Bobby there. Next up, dear listeners, is Adam Wicks, and we'll follow that with Rob Abbott.
Morning, Nick. Just Adam Wicks here, just leaving my thoughts after yesterday's fantastic 1-0 victory at Bristol City. Well, what a Christmas period that's been for us. I'm not sure any of us really saw that set of results come in. Stoke was a pretty boring performance, to be honest, and not too inspirational. QPR were there to be knocked over, and we did a good job on them. Norwich, that was one of the most enjoyable games at the ground I've seen for a good 2-3 years, and yesterday was just a sort of combination of everything coming together nicely. It was absolutely fantastic. I think what I sort of just offer looking at things is, I think if we think back to when Harris was in charge, we had a Millwall team that was full of sort of Millwall spirit, and they fought and they battled and they involved the crowd. All those things that we like to see, with a limited amount of finesse. Rowett obviously picked the reins up, and I think if we cast our minds back to when Rowett initially took over from Harris, he had a period where he was able to harness what Harris had sort of put together and combine it with obviously the Gary Rowett level of organisation and off the ball work to some really impressive effect. But I think what I saw yesterday was a Millwall team that was organised, disciplined, showed the fight and the will to do the nasty things and get in people's faces that we love, but also use the ball really, really well, and play some good football. We were well-deserved winners, I think, in the end. And some of the play, the confidence on the ball was, is really to be applauded. I think if Joe Edwards can harness those three factors together consistently, I think we could be in for a pretty exciting end to the season. And I'm not talking about finishing anywhere in particular in the table, but just from a pure enjoyment perspective, I think. And I think, you know, Ashley Barnes might have lit a bit of a fire in South Bermondsey on the Friday just gone, and I think it's going to be interesting to see the sort of level of intensity and ferocity that can burn to, because I think we're potentially on the cusp of something pretty interesting happening. Long may it continue. Really good to see. I think the work the players have put in over Christmas has been absolutely phenomenal. I mean, the distance some of them have covered, you know, Leonard, Norton Cuffey, you know, Hutchinson coming back and being absolutely, you know, the player we all know he can be, but he just hasn't, for one reason or another, been able to put those sort of performances in. Cooper looks much more reassured with him in there. Murray Wallace back to the player we know he can be, and you know, we thought that had gone. I mean, I don't know what's going on really, and you know, it's just lovely to see players come in and slot in easily. You know, Mitchell in for Saville, Wallace in for Brian, you know, Amaku coming in, or Watmore. Fleming seems to be sparking up a little bit now as well. These are all really good positive signs, and you know, I think we should look forward to what's to come. But anyway, Happy New Year to everyone, and come on you Lions.
Hey Nick, Rob Abbott here. Happy New Year, and what a start to 2024 that was. A well-deserved victory in my opinion. Apart from the one Sarkic save from the header in the first half, Bristol City didn't look like they had a sniff. I thought we were absolutely superb off the ball, led by Hutchinson and Honeyman. Then on the ball, thought we played quite well. I think we lacked the final pass, the last decision in the final third wasn't as good as it's been the previous few games. But look, at the end of the day, we got the winner there from Hutch. Wow, what a finish. Absolute fantastic. Onwards and upwards. As I said the other day, I'm the optimist. I'm looking up. It's only 8 points now to the playoffs, and we're on a little run. Come on, you Lions. All the best. Chat soon.
A lot of positivity knocking around, dear listeners, isn't there? This is a bipolar club, and I'm hoping that our show represents accurately our ability to be in the depths of despair. It wasn't long that since Joe Edwards was being talked about as a horrendous mistake online. Now suddenly he's the. I've noticed that Gary Rowett has gone from being the kind of king across the wall to the man that we should never have let go. He did resign, by the way. Everyone that thinks he should never have gone, he resigned. He's gone from being the kind of lost genius of Millwall in some eyes to now suddenly becoming responsible for everything from high inflation, the Middle Eastern conflict, to it being a rainy, horrible storm tonight. He becomes, the villain, the devil incarnate is now Gary Rowett. I think he's none of those things really. He did a job and did a good job really, but probably took us as far as he could. The big hope, the glimmer of green, the green shoots of recovery are now being watered and fed with a sunshine that is the potential, because it still is only potential, of Joe Edwards and his new style. I think, as Adam put it, the introduction of finesse with Mill spirit, that's been the holy grail. I think a lot of people have gone searching for it, like the holy grail itself, but no one's ever found it like the holy grail itself. I must admit, I think both Rob and Adam have touched on this. It's just been enjoyable to go to football. That's all I was ever really asking for. Don't know about you, dear listeners. Bit of decent football and climbing up the table was wonderful. But I just wanted to go back down Millwall and enjoy it, watching us play, and that's come back. Final two messages now. The next one's going to be Craig Jones. And then John Rankin from the other day. I was very apologetic to John. I actually missed his message off the other day. So this was a post-Norwich reaction. But we'll play out with that, and I'll be back after these two messages.
What did I say? What did I say? Don't panic. Edwards wasn't panicking. The team weren't panicking. it was those fine margins and those little individual mistakes that were really affecting results and us collecting points. And after 3 games, well, we even say 4 to be honest, because that Huddersfield game should have been 3 as well. But wow, what a turnaround! What a turnaround! And what a game as well. That was a very, very controlled, clinical, and very accomplished away win at Bristol City. You know, that was as best as we could expect for a game like that, in the conditions as well towards the end of the game, which were awful. And the goal for Hutch, completely deserved. All these players that we were essentially writing off, and all of a sudden they are just feeding us a good dose of humble pie with those Christmas leftovers. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Murray Wallace, I doff my cap to you, because that is one turnaround and a half. You're like the Scottish Alan Dunn. Is amazing. Hutch as well, coming back in, and by the looks of it, possibly eased in, as well as Harding just keeping him out of the team. But that performance was vintage Hutch. It was absolutely fantastic. Shout out to Honeyman, the always reliable Leonard, and Cooper as well, who's looking so much better than he was a couple of months ago. And also the work that clearly Joe Edwards and the rest of the backroom staff have been putting into the team, and the fitness. We don't look like we're actually tiring now. It looks like we've been put through the players have been put through their paces, and we're starting to reap the benefits of a team that are determined to win. And that was big. A big win. Well done, Millwall. Onwards and upwards.
Hi, Nick. Yeah, I just listened to the voicemail show, the reactions to the Norwich game, and I just wanted to ring in again because basically I think, well, number one, the podcast has answered a question that I've been kind of thinking about a lot, and I think a lot of other Millwall supporters have been thinking about as well. Why did Gary Rowett actually leave? You know, he's in a contract. Rumours he's getting 500k a year, which is not a bad wage. He's out of work now. He's doing a bit of Sky Sports stuff, but it's not regular, is it? You know, and he walked. And I think we found out why. If you look at Joe Edwards' reaction to that tremendous Millwall of old performance on Friday night, where we mixed it up, got a load of yellow cards, got a red card, you know, the game degenerated into scuffling and wrestling on the ground with the crowd animated and injecting that electricity. Joe Edwards was loving it. Gary Rowett would have hated it, as you just said. I really don't think that was part of his footballing DNA. I think he's a very methodical, well-organised guy. Everything is thought through and planned. I used to watch him sometimes sitting in the dugout, and he'd constantly writing notes and all that kind of stuff. And I don't know, what are you writing notes about when you're a manager of a football team and your lads are out there playing? You want to be in that technical area, screaming and shouting and showing them that you care. You certainly want to do that at Millwall, and he used to really antagonise me, you know. So that was what I wanted to call in about, and I think that prospects could look good for us under Joe Edwards if he continues to let the players know that he supports that approach. We could be the wild card again. You know, we could bring that Millwall chaos, as you say, to play, and we could get the Den involved, and then we'll be a force to be recognised with again. Teams won't want to play against us. You know, they'll know that we're there to kick bollock and bite and to be like Millwall of old, and that will be a big advantage. So, Joe Edwards, if you listen to this, you know, well done on that. We're all in it together. That's the thing about Millwall. We're a family, and we're a working class, solid setup. And, you know, the supporters, the players, the management, the staff, we're all as one. And when we're all as one, we can achieve things. I cast my mind back to, the Teddy Sheringham and Tony Cascarino days when we went up to the First Division. And we was all as one then. Everyone was behind the team. There was fantastic away days. The atmosphere at the Den was great. And we got on a roll. And the season, it wasn't certain we were going to go up to the First Division. And we started to get on a roll as the season progressed, a bit like now, actually. And up we went. Now, I'm not saying we're going to go up this season, but I certainly want to see more performances like that on Friday night. That was good. And I'll just end on this. One of the things that worried me about looking at the statistics under Gary Rowett was the lack of yellow cards and red cards that we used to incur, and I used to think, that's, you've got 4 or 5 midfielders in the squad. Surely you can allow a couple of yellow cards per game just to put our presence around and let people know that we're there, And when I saw George Honeyman come in to the setup last season, I thought, oh, brilliant. I've always liked George Honeyman. And then, he got played in silly positions, not in that centre circle. George Honeyman is a centre circle player. And I was always taught when I was playing football as a youngster, the importance of dominating that centre circle. Right, you control that centre circle, you've got a very important space in the pitch. And we used to play a system where we didn't want any other opposition players in the centre circle, so if they come in, they got kicked. I don't think you can get away with that now, but it certainly worked at pub football and Sunday football. Have a right bruiser in the centre circle, kicking anyone who came in there. Sometimes his own players as well. No, but no, I'm being a bit ridiculous, but it's that kind of approach, that kind of using all the tools at our disposal to achieve the result. Because mark my words, right, winning is beautiful football. I don't care how we play. I don't care whether we score goals after a 25 pass move or the goalie kicks it up and it just goes straight in the net from the goalkeeper's boot. I don't care, right? As long as we win, I'm an happy Millwall supporter because I'm happy with Millwall winning. Anyway, Happy New Year to everyone. I hope 2024 is a fantastic year. I hope it's a better year for me, actually. I've had some issues this year, but I'm still here and we're still going strong. And come on, you Lions.
Seconding, John, it's great to have you here, mate, as well. You as you say, you've had a few problems. Let's just leave it there, major ones. But it's great to have you here, mate. And all the other Millwall fans out there who listen to this show and have had issues and problems. A lot of that goes out the window when the Lions win. I found just walking away Friday night, I think I've said it a few times, I'll flog it again, why not? Walking back to the station, Canada Water, you float back rather than feel like you're walking, 1,000 miles like you do after a miserable night. On the back end of a really, really strong Millwall style performance, you float back. Interesting stuff, John, about the Gary. We've touched on it previously, so I won't make the same point too much. But I do think that Gary Rowett and on occasion Millwall Football Club, and by that I don't mean Joe Edwards, I mean the management and the club management, the administration, aren't really comfortable with what I was going to put riding the tiger. It should be riding the lion, shouldn't it, at Millwall? Not riding the tiger. I think the thing with riding on the lion's back, on getting the Den involved and firing up the crowd is both a wonderful weapon. The envy of our division, listeners, make no bones about it. I think Rowett himself said when he first arrived how little other clubs enjoy coming to the Den. For some reason, footballing principles or whatever you want to call it, or a methodical approach, as John has just touched on, I don't think Gary ever really trusted riding the lion, because you don't know where it's going to go. It's an unpredictable thing, isn't it? It can spill over. I think the club have historically been wary of firing up the crowd because it becomes out of control very quickly. We all know that, don't we? And there was a touch of that on there was the other day. Someone slung I did read it was they're not called opal fruits anymore. It shows you how long since I bought. Are they called scorchers? I can't remember what they're called. Anyway, it's opal fruits. apparently that's what got thrown and hit the linesman on the head against QPR. I'm hoping that's good information, not another conspiracy theory that I've made up. But things spill over and get out of control, and I think probably Gary Rowett, as part of the club's historic mistrust of where a Millwall crowd can go, potentially, I've always been a bit wary of it. I do get a sense that certainly from my point of view, Joe Edwards loves the energy, loves the surge of the crowd. You could see how much he enjoyed it in his post-match interview from Friday night, and you could even see it yesterday. It's a different atmosphere, obviously, away at Bristol, but you can see that he enjoys winning, and he enjoys having this powerful weapon, which is a Millwall crowd, on his side. So yeah, huge thank you to Craig, and huge thank you to John for those two contributions. That's today's show for you, dear listeners. Better conclude it with the answer to our punditgames.co.uk question. Back at the start of the show today, I asked one of Oldham's finest players during their Premier League period, 185 Premier League appearances, 5 came in the first full season. 10 goals in 185 Premier League games. Sorry, I misread that. The player's name, Norwegians, probably international. I'd forgotten his name, but I knew it when I saw it. His name was Gunnar Haller. If you remembered that one, well done you. That's the kind of question you get on the Premier League section. There's loads of different genres. Great birthday gift, punditgames.co.uk. Visit the website. Mention, if you do, Achtung Millwall in the drop down, and the Lions Food Hub. Get a little donation, and we're just about to donate 50 quid to them now from sales over Christmas. So big thank you, Pundit Games. Big thank you to you two, dear listeners, for tuning into this show. I'm going to go have my dinner. Call it quits. Arrivederci Millwall. Bye for now.
Achtung, Millwall.